from the land of the dead, aka yet another exam session. Let's have the books I read in September not so magically appear here. Ta-da! Let's start with what's at the top of the pile, which is Xenophobe's Guide to the Finns. In case you don't know, I'm half Finnish, so this was especially hilarious to read. I absolutely loved this. I think I gave this 4 out of 5 stars, and I would have gladly given it 5 out of 5 stars if there weren't some inaccuracies. Anyway, this is a great introduction to what Finnish people are like, so if you're going to Finland, definitely check this out because it's totally worth the $9.95 bucks. While I was in Finland this summer, I picked up several books, so a haul should be coming up soon. And one of those books is Compartment Number 6 by Rosa Liksom. This is the story of a young Finnish woman who's been fascinated by Russia her whole life and decides one day to take the Trans-Siberian train. So she gets on the train and she gets assigned compartment number 6, which she shares with a really unnerving Russian man who keeps on telling her about all these romantic, and they're not romantic, but these encounters he's had with women throughout his life, and these really lewd tales about his sexual experiences. But his personality definitely did have some positive traits. For instance, he was very welcoming towards this young woman who was, after all, a stranger, but he kept offering her food and tea and whatnot, and he kind of took care of her. The girl slowly tells you about her past, or at least lets you have a glimpse of her past so that you understand why she's on the train, and also you get to see the Siberian landscape through her eyes. At the beginning, I really liked certain repetitions that the author came up with. I found them quite endearing, and I also liked the way in which she presented to you the landscapes through only a couple of sentences, sometimes very weird sentences, but I liked that. However, in the long run, I did kind of get bored with that and I struggled to finish this. 3 out of 5 stars on Goodreads. I also read A Long Way Down by Nick Hornby, which was not as funny as I expected. A Long Way Down introduces you to 4 very different characters who meet at the top of Topper's Building, which is a very popular suicide spot on New Year's Eve. One of them is a very young girl, too young to die in the other's opinion. So they try to convince her not to kill herself, and she agrees to that in exchange for some help. Eventually they end up forming this very dysfunctional support group of sorts, which of course leads to a series of hilarious situations. Because, come on, you can't have 4 personalities so radically opposite one another without a series of ludicrous situations occurring. I gave this 3 out of 5 stars on Goodreads. I also read The Pigeon by Patrick Susskind, which was my shortest read of the month, but also my favorite. It's only 77 pages long, and it's amazing. It's different, it's fresh, it's delicious to read. All Monsieur Noel wants is to lead a quiet, uneventful life in his beloved Paris apartment, and it's all going very well for him until one morning he opens the door of his apartment and there's a pigeon. There's a live pigeon lying on the floor in front of his apartment door, and the pigeon looks straight at him in the eyes with his small, beady, lidless eyes. And Monsieur Noel is overrun by fear. He's paralyzed by fear. He rushes back into his apartment, and suddenly the world is falling apart for him. I especially liked what the Sunday Times had to say about this book, and I'll read it to you. Susskind shows his outstanding gift for unraveling the implications behind very small oddities and exposing the dangerous anarchy which lurks beneath everyday events. I also read Gone Girl by Gillian Flynn. Everyone was raving about it on BookTube, so I decided to give it a try, and I was not disappointed. This is a story of Amy and Nick Dunn, a married couple that doesn't get along very well. And one day, Amy disappears, and of course, everyone is pointing their finger at Nick. but what is the truth behind this disappearance? The beginning of the book was extraordinary. I love Gillian Flynn's writing. I love her choice of what to spend a few more words on and what to just glide over. It was just my cup of tea. I did get a bit bored in the middle, but the last part of the book was excellent. Once I got a hang of what was really going on in the book, I hoped for an ending similar to the one that's actually in the book. But the one Flynn wrote is 100 times better than the one I was hoping for. If you're into thrillers, read this, absolutely. If you're not into thrillers, still read this because it's a really nice book. I gave this 4 out of 5 stars on Goodreads. Surprisingly enough, I also read a graphic novel this month. Endless Wartime from the Avengers. It's by Mike McCone, Jason Keith, and Warren Ellis. And I absolutely hated this. I gave this 1 out of 5 stars on Goodreads because I found the story flat and boring, and although this is super short, I still had trouble reading it. So what was the plot? There's a new weapon being used in the Middle East, and Captain America recognizes it as a weapon from his past. So he starts investigating, all the other Avengers get involved, and Thor also recognizes this weapon as something from his past, so he also feels very responsible for the destruction these weapons have brought, and the Avengers get kicking some ass. That's it. That's what I read last month, but what about you? What did you read? What did you love? What did you hate? Thank you so much for watching, and goodbye!